ever said, I do not like being treated that way, but then it happened again? Or you told someone, please do not speak to me like that, but then you continued on in the conversation? Or maybe you set your boundaries, you explained your needs, and told people exactly what you wanted, but then nothing changed. If you can relate to that, let me ask you a question. What if the problem is not what you're saying, but something else entirely? For years, I thought I understood boundaries. I thought if I told people what I wanted, if I told people what I expected, and told people what I needed, that should be enough. But I was wrong. And that mistake was costing me respect, costing me peace, and costing me healthy relationships. But today, I'm going to share with you one lesson that changed everything. So if you've wondered why setting boundaries haven't seemed to work for you, why people seem to keep taking advantage of your kindness and respect seems hard to come by, stay with me, because in this video, I'm going to show you why the old strategies haven't worked for you and what you can do to create healthy, more respectful relationships, because we really can teach people how to treat us. Let's get started. Oprah Winfrey once said, if there is a person in your life who isn't treating you with the respect and the consideration you deserve, ask yourself, what am I doing to elicit this person's behavior or to allow it to continue? That kind of hurt, right? Because most of us want to believe that if someone's being disrespectful, that is completely on them and it has nothing to do with us. I'm not trying to make you the blame for everybody else's bad behavior. If somebody is rude, that's not on you. But what if you have normalized their behavior? What if you've made excuses and you have tolerated? Sometimes people are disrespectful and we laugh it off, we make excuses, we joke about it. Oh, that's just them. So the danger is not so much that they said something or did something that's disrespectful. The danger is the more you allow it, the more you start to believe, like, maybe this is the way I deserve to be treated. And before you know it, you stop asking for what you need. You stop asking for what you want. You stop trusting yourself. And you're actually abandoning yourself. You're not paying attention to the things that you want. And this is why this really matters in your life. Okay, so why should you listen to me about this? I am Dr. Monique. I am a life coach and I am an educator. And I am living proof that you can change your life after 40. There was a time in my life where I thought I had good boundaries, but I kept finding myself in situations that were not good for me, right? I found myself in toxic relationships. I found myself in bad positions at work where maybe I was working too much at church, being underappreciated by my family. And this is what I found, that if this was happening in multiple areas of my life, then the common denominator was me. Brene Brown has a quote that says, when we fail to set boundaries and hold people accountable, we feel used and mistreated. And that's what would happen for me. I'm going to give you an example of what would happen in my classroom when I first started teaching. I would go over all of the expectations at the beginning of class, and anytime I felt like students needed a refresher. I'm 100% sure that they knew what my expectations were, but they also found out that there weren't very many consequences. So you have the students who would overstep, who would cross the boundaries. And that's easy to see in a classroom and it's easy to see in children. But that is the same thing that plays out in other areas of our life. I spent years announcing boundaries without enforcing them. I would say, this thing that you did is unacceptable. And yet I would continue to accept it. I saw something on social media a few years back, and it just put all of this in perspective. It made me laugh, but it's really kind of profound. And it goes, stop asking a clown, why is he acting like a clown? And ask yourself, why are you still showing up for the circus? I just had to make some changes in my life. I wasn't teaching people to respect my boundaries. I was teaching people that my boundaries were negotiable. I'm not the only one that was in that situation. Let me tell you why the old strategies don't work. Myth number one is just be nicer. If you're nicer, then you can have a better relationship. Myth number two is just stay quiet. Because if you don't have anything nice to say, then why say anything at all? Myth number three is over explaining. We think that if we just explain what we want a little more, then they will finally get it and then they will do what we want them to do. Myth number four is just to wait for people to change, that eventually they will get it. Myth number five is to just give in because it's not even worth arguing about it. Just go ahead. I don't even care anymore. But can I tell you something uncomfortable? Some people are really benefiting from your inability to say no. They are benefiting from your inability to enforce boundaries. If you remember only one thing today, remember this. People don't just listen to what you say, they watch what you allow. Every day, you teach people how to treat you. So ask yourself, what standard am I setting? And is this the standard that I deserve? So here's the paradigm shift. In the Bible, it says that we should love our neighbors as we love ourselves. And while many people will focus on the loving your neighbor part, I'm going to focus on as you love yourself part. What happens if you don't love yourself enough to protect your peace, to protect your joy, to protect all of those things that are valuable to you? What happens when everybody gets your time and your attention? Everybody, that is, except you. Boundaries are not punishment. Boundaries are not rejection. Boundaries are simply instructions. And people learn how to treat you based on the way that you treat yourself. If you never take the time to rest, people assume that you don't need rest. If you always say yes, then they assume that you must want to do it. And if you want your yes to mean more, you have to be comfortable saying no. Do you give yourself the same respect that you expect others to give you? If not, then that is where the real work begins. So I know I said a lot, and the real question is, how do you get started? Right? What do you actually need to do? So I'm going to give you a brief exercise. I want you to think about the last 24 hours and just some of the interactions that you have had with others. I'm going to say a few words and I want you to think about if you felt any of these ways during the last 24 hours. Resentful, drained, guilty, disrespected, overextended, or invisible. Now, this is something that you may want to take some time to journal about, but you can ask yourself, what did you allow? Not who hurt you, not who was disrespectful, but what did you allow? And then if you are journaling, write out, I am available for, and then you can complete the sentence, and I am not available for, and you can complete that sentence, right? Going forward, I will. So, for example, you might say, I am available for healthy, respectful conversations. I am not available for disrespect, for sarcasm, for insults. And going forward, if someone engages in disrespectful language, I will remove myself from the conversation. I will hang up the phone. I will not stay in their presence to be subjected to that. Because it's good to already have a game plan. Because when you create a boundary, the boundary is not about other people, it's about what you will do. because you cannot control what other people do, but you can control your own actions. So you might be asking the question, is it even worth it to do all of this? Let me tell you what happened when you finally stop accepting disrespect, hurt, people crossing your boundaries, and you finally start to honor who you are and to honor the things that are important to you. 3 things begin to change. And the first one is that the right people begin to adjust. The people who genuinely care about you, they may not get it 100% right initially. However, they will make an effort. They will listen. They will respect your boundaries. A healthy person can recognize that you have needs and you have wants, and they don't have to be offended by that. The second thing that happens is that the wrong people will reveal themselves. Some people will call you selfish. Some people will say, you've changed. And you can agree with them because, yes, you have changed. You are no longer available for disrespect. You're no longer available to be overworked or overextended, right? You're not going to be the one at work that they always ask to plan the activities, to lead the events, to do the extra work, to lead all the projects, so that you end up being the one who has to come into work early and stay late and possibly even work on the weekends. Like, yeah, you've changed. You're no longer available for that. You're no longer available to babysit whenever someone wants you to. Yes, I have a life now. You can't just say, I'm dropping the kids off today, with no regards to what I have to do with my activities, what I have planned. So yes, you have changed. If the children do not do the chores, then yes, there will be consequences. And they're not going to like them. And that's okay. That's to make them better humans as well. What you will find is that some people were attached to the unhealthy version of you. And while it can be very painful, this is good information to know, because not everyone who currently has access to you deserves to have access to you. And then number 3, the third thing that starts to happen when you honor your boundaries is that you begin to trust yourself again. And this is the greatest gift of all. You quit second guessing yourself. You stop wondering if you are asking too much, if you're doing too much, if you're being difficult. You quit abandoning yourself just to make other people happy. And then something beautiful begins to happen. You begin to feel safe within yourself because you know that you will no longer allow people to take advantage of you or disrespect you anymore. And you start to honor your own needs. Because when you're not as available to everyone else, you have time to be available for your own goals and your own dreams. You start showing up as the woman that you were created to be, and not just the one who gives in to everyone else. Remember the question in the beginning, why do boundaries fail? Well, here is the answer. Boundaries aren't words. Boundaries are decisions. A boundary is not, will you please stop? A boundary is, if you continue to do these things, then this is what I will do. I did a previous video in this series on boundaries and self-love, and it's entitled, No is a Complete Sentence. And I really go into how to set boundaries without feeling guilty. And I actually have a boundary script pack that will help you to have the words to say. And that is linked in the description. Because when you can know how to set a boundary without feeling guilty, then that changes absolutely everything. So setting boundaries is not selfish. You're not being mean. But please remember, you teach people how to treat you. So if you struggle with setting boundaries without guilt, watch the video that no is a complete answer. Download the boundary script and go ahead and subscribe to my channel, because this is part of a series that I'm doing on boundaries and self-love. I believe that the videos are truly life-changing. Until next time, be blessed.